Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Friday, October 25th, 2024. I, of course, with Originator Success here with the Daily Mortgage Rate Update, the only place on the web where you guys get to join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Just sit back, relax. What's going on with rates and pricing? I say sit back and relax, but it hasn't been very, unfortunately. Although today is a good day, next week's going to be pretty crazy. So it's probably not going to be relaxing for the next couple of weeks either. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. If you're watching live, say good morning. Like Michael Love, good morning, sir. Hat tip to you. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget to give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Listen, if you're watching on Facebook, I want you to go into that and do that. Good morning, Angela Walters. Whether you're here live or on the replay, don't forget to smash that like button, tag an Hello friend. If you'd like to sign up for a free email, we send it out each and every weekday morning. You can sign up at www.rateadvice.com or use this cool. Get yourself signed up for that. This is not slowing up here. Not doing. Are you guys hearing me okay? Is this thing on? This silly thing. And this is our text alerts. There you go. Lock advice, www.ratetextalerts.com. Here is our text reminder at hmmr.io/reminder. And last but not least, check us out at Originator. We can help you get loans from Google and social media. Mike Tebow says, I am freezing. Dude, I need a jacket. It's cold in here. I'm on hotel Wi-Fi, y'all, so it's probably not going to be that great today. I am sorry. Yeah, Deb said breaking up a bit. Hopefully it gets a little bit better. I don't know, y'all. Again, it's hotel Wi-Fi. It's the best that I got for you this morning. So but anyway, well, let's say hi to everybody. Deb, Rob Stewart, Colin, Jordan, Mike, Mark Clark as well. Great to see all of you. Thank you for joining me. Let's go ahead. We will switch over to what's going on in the rest of the charts here. I'm going to switch to this screen. There you go. All right. And we will leave the lock advice down at the bottom. So, all right, mortgage-backed securities currently up 13 basis points to start the day at 99.51, putting us in a position where if that holds, pricing will be a little bit better than yesterday. Not much, especially on a Friday. Lenders tend to be pretty conservative on Friday when it comes to their pricing, but it could be a little bit better. Again, we're up 13 basis points. 10-year Treasury yield is down a few ticks as well. It was up to 4.25. It's down to 4.18. And you could see that that is also moving in a downward arc here. And in fact, let me just pop this like that, and we'll do this. Okay. So see how we're moving. Look at this 10-year Treasury yield. You can see how it's falling down, coming back and testing that 200-day moving average. Something similar in mortgage-backed securities here, where we've gone all the way down and come back up. Now, if we weren't going into next week's big data dump with jobs data, we got GDP data, jobs data, JOLTS, a few other things I'm going to go over. If we didn't have that coming up next week, and then following that, the election and the Fed meeting, then I would be holding out a little bit of hope that the worst was behind us and we'd be getting a bounce. Let's kind of recap where we've been from here and what's going on next week and where things could possibly go from here. So right here, this high point, this was September 16th. This was right before, and let me see if you guys should be able to see. You know what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm just going to shake the mouse so it gets bigger. There you go. So September 16th right here, that was our waypoint. We had the Fed meeting here. We came back from the Fed meeting, and let's look at the actual numbers. So right before that, we were right around the 101.50-ish area, right? And the Fed meeting came out. Right after the Fed meeting, we were back up to 101.54. So the Fed meeting did not hurt us. When the Fed cut rates by a half point, that did not hurt mortgage-backed securities. The day before we were here, we were 101.56. Fed meeting 101.41. The day after 101.54. Then we were down again to 101.37. We kind of settled in a little bit here, right around that 101.37 mark. We ended that week, right? Here it is on Friday the 27th. So we end on Friday, September 20th, 101.37. We ended the next week 101.37, totally unchanged, right? We're exact same spot. We go into here 101.30, 101.18. All of a sudden, right before the jobs data, look at how we just drop off the cliff here. So we're at 101.18, 196, 100.57. Huge drops. A couple of days before the jobs data and then the actual jobs data. It's almost like somebody knew something right here. Um, then we started to see some recovery, and it was like, okay, great. Let me pull this back up. Hold on. Okay. So right here, it was like, okay, we saw the reaction to the jobs data. Let's let it settle. I think the worst is behind us. We started to recover right here. And remember, it was like, yep, okay, good. This was ugly, but we're going to get through this. Then, boom, we lose ground again. This was Thursday. And it was like, for no real reason. It was just like, hey, bonds just started selling off. Friday, we're at that support. Okay, great. We had this bad day, but this time for real, we've got technical support. Everything should be good. And then this Monday, for no reason at all, we just lost everything in overnight trading. It was just such a big drop. Let's go ahead. Look at this on the 5 day, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the 5 day. So here we were on the 21st, just to show you his right here, this big loss that we had. Now, unfortunately, I can't get back to the 18th, which would have put us where we were, but you could see we lost ground and we just kept losing. Then we picked up a little bit, then we lost more ground. Then we lost more ground. A little bit of um, trying to catch up, but didn't work, lost ground. Then then yesterday, things kind of settled off. Definitely some volatility through the day. It improved a little bit, saw some reprices better from a handful of lenders. But by the end of the day, gave up the ghost, gave up those gains. We're back at where we were now. Same thing that we're seeing today, a little bit of improvement, but we don't know that this improvement will stay, right? We're up 16 basis points at the moment, but it's very likely that we see something very much like what we've seen in the past here, where we're up a little bit to start the day. Maybe it stays up, maybe it goes down. But let's say even if it holds, what we're going into next week is really what we have to be paying attention to. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got coming up next week and what could happen. So like you probably see on the screen, let me see here. I'm going to float back here for a second. Okay, so like you see on the screen when it's up on the bottom of the screen, my advice remains to lock most of the loans. As much as I hate that option, um, it's going to be there. Don't worry about freezing because my video, it's going to be what it's going to be, y'all. So anyway, here I'm trying to, let me get back to the captions here. Okay, I'll throw this back on the bottom. So when it comes to where we're at and what's going on next week, let's go ahead and flip screens, show you that one more time here. So for next week, see what we got going on. So Monday, it's going to be quiet. We have that Treasury refunding with their estimates. This has actually been a big deal because of the amount that we're borrowing. So we could see some activity around this. We'll talk a little bit more about that on Monday, but generally it hasn't been too big of a deal, but we could see a little bit of moves. Tuesday, though, but overall, though, Monday should be quiet. Tuesday, we're going to have the JOLTS data. It's funny because when you look at Matt Graham, and this is Mortgage MBS Live, they put these colored stars, double colored stars being very big events. This white star, it's a big event, and a hollow star, it's like a kind of event. Well, I actually think that both of these are going to be a big deal. So you got consumer confidence, JOLTS data coming up here on Tuesday. And I think that both of those are going to have, some effect, and that's going to be right around 10 a.m. Right. Then we've got some auctions going on. On Wednesday, we're going to have, this is also going to have the quarterly PCE data. On Thursday, we've got PCE. And then on Friday, we got non-farm payroll data. Also on Wednesday, you've got the ADP jobs. I don't think that's going to be a big one, but it'll be in there. And then on Thursday, of course, you got jobless claims as well that will get watched. Jobless claims have been coming in showing strength in the economy and strength in the labor market with the numbers going down the last couple of weeks. So, next week, there is so much opportunity for volatility, and I can't comfortably suggest floating anything but loans that have the most time to recover. Because if you're floating anything that's, locking the next couple of weeks, if this data comes in strong, it could be manipulated or not. But if it comes in strong and we get a negative reaction, take a look here. We could see just mortgage-backed securities just absolutely fall apart. Um, we could see them drop all the way back to where they were here in June and in May. We could just keep dropping. Now, when we look, we were at 101.61. Now we're at 99.55. That's 200 basis points of movement. 200 basis points that we've lost from the middle of September to basically the middle, ending of October. There's a week apart here. If we want to go to the 25th, we would be 100.22. The day before was 100.41, 101.41. I mean, we're still 190, 180 basis points in a month. Huge, huge loss. We should be expecting to see a rebound. We've talked about the technicals. We've talked about bonds being oversold, all of which would point to a rebound. But when it comes to next week and all of this economic data that's on the board, that's where it's all up in the air, and we can't count on anything in particular. So taking a look at a few other things while we got it open here, take a look at expectations for Fed rate cuts. Again, 99% probability expectation that the Fed is going to cut in November, that they will continue. However, in December, it's moved up a little bit. It was below 70% the last couple of days. The expectation of a rate cut now about 74%. Small improvement, but that's part of what goes along with rates improving and the idea that, okay, maybe it's not whatever. This is all subject to change next week when we start getting that data. January, we want to start looking to January and March's data as well. 4.25. There's about a 40% chance being all the way down to 4. Now remember, we're at 4.75 now. So this would be a quarter point, quarter point, quarter point. There's about a 50% expectation. So 100% expectation, 99% that we'll see one in November. Then we have about a 74% that we'll see one in December, and then about a 50% expectation that we'll see one in January, and that'll bring us there. There's a lot more in the air as we get there, and then by the time we get to March, now we really see a split between 3.75. This may not play out that way, and this could all change next week. And if it does, that's where you're going to see mortgage rates will creep up. We have just too much potential for volatility over the next couple of weeks. Next week, we've got all that stuff that we talked about. We got PCE data, we've got the jobs data, we got the JOLTS data, we got ADP data, we've got GDP data, we got all the P's and the D's and the E's. All right, so we've got all that data coming up. And then the following week, we, of course, have the election. And then we have the Fed meeting. So the next 2 weeks, the potential for volatility extremely high. Only consider floating loans that are closing well outside of 30 days and are risk averse. That because we may see rates go up 0.75 of a point. It could go that high. Hopefully it doesn't. But nobody knows. We just don't know. We don't know how the data is going to come out, but we do know how the reaction to the data would likely be depending on the data. So. Like Robert Bashir said, looks like Halloween week is going to be spooky. That's absolutely true, my friend. Halloween week is going to be spooky. So anyway, that's all I've got for you today on this Friday. A lot of potential volatility heading into next week. Make sure that any loans that you're working on. However, now is the time to prospect. Rates are going to come back down after the election. It's not going to happen immediately, but they will start to come back down. Historically, October has been some of our worst rates, and we improve in November. If you remember, last October was the highest that we had rates on record. So last October, if we go back to the charts here, hold on, I gotta click here you go. If we go back and look at the charts a year ago, let me pop this out of the way. Okay, let's do the 5-year, and you could see that October of 23. Here you go. Look at this. Look, the absolute worst that we were at October 23rd, 2023. Mortgage-backed securities that week were at 94.77. We are almost 500 basis points better than that right now. 94.77. That was just a year ago. Remind your clients. Again, this is bonds, but if we were to look at rate charts, it's going to be the same thing. Rates were the absolute worst a year ago, October of 23. You could see where mortgage-backed securities Doesn't matter which coupon we look at, the 5.5, the 6, the 5. Here I'll flip over and we'll go to the 5, right? You're going to see the exact same behavior. See that same week was the absolute lowest level, the 23rd right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the 5.5 though, because that's the one that we're tracking. All right, taking a look here, that was the absolute worst, was October, and then look at how it improved. There were a lot of reasons for that. It was expectation that we are going to see the rate cuts end, that I'm sorry, the rate hikes end, that rate cuts would start to come at some time, blah blah blah, all this other stuff. Look at the way it rebounded. I'm not saying that we're going to definitely see that happen again, but there's a lot of potential. Same thing here when we get into 22. Here we were in October of 22, but then take a look. It did. Here we go. Right here, October 2020, 97.84, October 17th, 97.84, it looks like was the worst, right, in October. And then we start to recover 99, 98, 100, 100, 100. So it starts to improve in November. So historically, you see that happening here. There's a lot of reasons for that as regards to where markets price going into the new year and where they think that each one of these events had a different reason for what it's going to be. But we're very likely to see something similar happen this time around. Very likely to see continued worsening into next week as possible. But after the election, after November, we should start to see things turn the corner again. What we need to see are some signs that the economy is not nearly as strong as it's being looked at, that the labor market is not as strong as is being looked at, and that inflation is still moving lower, especially if Trump does get into office. There's going to be a lot of talk about the Trump trade and that inflation would go up. We need to see signs that inflation is not going up, and then things will settle back down. Rates will go down. 2025 is going to be a good year. Do the work now, my friends. Do the work now. All right. So hopefully we could be seeing the worst that we're seeing right now. If we didn't have so much data and volatility coming up over the next couple of weeks, I would be suggesting that we float and see through it. There's just so much going on. It's floating just feels very risky. So keep that in mind. It could pay off, but it's probably going to be a few weeks, not a few days. And if the data, though, data next week comes out, shows revisions on last month's data, shows that the market is softening, we could see rates rebound. But I am telling you, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how the data is going to come out. I don't know how rates are going to go. They're going to react to the data, my friends. All right. I'll be chatting with you then. Take care. Have a fantastic one. Bye-bye.